Good evening, everyone. This is Sachin, Karnik. Today is the 1st of July, 2025. We are continuing our online Angel Wings personal transformation program. We are on week number 26 at this point, and I want to welcome you all to this evening's presentation, as well as the online audience and the people who are listening to this later on. Please do keep in mind that we are going through different stages of energy transmutation, energy activation, etc. Energy activation utilization is stage 1. Energy equalization is stage 2. Energy conservation is stage 3. Energy revitalization is stage 4. We're at the, on the last week of this particular block of presentation. And then next week we'll be looking at energy transmutation. We'll be going through that for next 13 weeks, or maybe even longer. Might have to do for 26 weeks. We'll see how that goes. There's quite a bit involved in that. So first of all, I just want to do a quick review just for people, some of the new people, and I just want to make sure we are all on the same page here with regards to our goals. What is the actual goal of the online personal transformation program? The actual goal is to awaken from within us extraordinary possibilities and potential for the purpose of personal excellence, self-mastery, and then beyond that, personal excellence. Is it possible to reach such an extraordinary state in our life? Absolutely. This is the hypothesis, and this is, with all humility, my contention in developing this, or the contention in this program, that we can all reach self-mastery. Just at our own pace, in our own way, we will reach it at some point. The concept of self-mastery is very technical as far as the research goes, but we are putting it in very practical ways. So the concept is fundamentally that we need balance. Without a balanced mind, balanced body, balance in life across 12 dimensions, all areas of one's life, without proper balance, we cannot reach self-mastery. Right? So just as a space shuttle has to be balanced on a platform, and then it has to be filled with fuel, the fuel tank and the rocket boosters and all that, all kinds of fuel has to be there, everything has to be in place, everything has to be ready, and then the takeoff happens. The takeoff can only happen when everything is in place. And that is our goal this year. Our goal in this year number 2 is to build this balance, is to sustain the balance. Year number 1 was to bring about a state of balance. Year number 2 is to sustain the balance that we have achieved. Or if we haven't achieved it yet, then we will achieve it at some point. But without, just think about a space shuttle. Let me use that as an analogy. If it's wobbling and screws, things are loose and all that, it's not going to take off properly. It can crash, some problem can happen. It has to be fixed properly. Similarly, to reach self-mastery, to even take off towards self-mastery, we need really, 70, 80, 90% level or more of personal balance. I would say 90% or more balance is needed to even begin to take off into self-mastery. Right? So this is an extraordinary journey. It's an amazing journey that we are all on together, and it is a matter of realizing. It is a matter of realizing that this can be done by us. It is a matter of realizing that there is great possibility and potentiality in this phenomenal journey, because it is a journey. So energy revitalization is what we have been looking at in the last. This current series of 13 weeks, and this is our 13th week on that particular point. Revitalization fundamentally means that we want to be in a vital state, vital meaning good quality energy state, that re-energizes itself naturally. It's like a recharging process. So like a rechargeable battery that loses its power, you charge it up again and it goes up. Something like that, but it's a little bit different from that also. Revitalization is where we are able to move 1 hour at a time, keeping in mind the balanced state. The keeping in mind, for example, Sachin says here today, right now it's 8:10 p.m. So from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, this workshop is going to be done. All right. So I have to maintain my balance. There's preparation for it, etc. Fine. But I want to experience revitalization in the 1 hour. Well, how do I do that? Because I know that I'm going to be performing an activity. And this is just an example. It could be any activity. So if I'm performing the activity by deciding to remain very steady and very calm and very balanced and very clear, I can make that decision just for the next hour. And so revitalization happens an hour at a time. So that's what this is all about. An hour at a time is all we should be looking at. I mean, yeah, we can plan for the whole day, and we should be. We can plan for the week, the month, the year. We can have all kinds of plans on our schedule. That's fine. But life doesn't move that way. Life moves literally in the present. It just moves a minute at a time, a breath at a time. It's the way it goes. So as we mentioned before, and I'm mentioning it again for myself first and then for all of you, to build a beautiful 1 hour. It's building it, it's painting it, it's making it. And to do it with revitalization, meaning there's energy activation, utilization, conservation, all that is going on. Energy is being used, but it's being revitalized. It's being refurbished again. It's growing again. Now, there's many ways that actually happens. Many, many ways. I mean, there are countless ideas behind this, obviously, and we have been looking at them. But one of the key points, and the slides are still showing up here, one of the key points is just to be very, very aware of the inward and the outward breath. To be consciously aware of how, if the breath has gotten shallow, just sit in the chair or on a sofa or whatever, keep your hands open, take an inward breath all the way in, and release it. Do it 5 times, 7 times, 11 times, an odd number of times if you can. Right? So what does that do? That brings us into the present, and it brings our energies back into sync again. Because as the day progresses, things change. Our mind changes, our thoughts change. So many things change. I mean, it's extraordinary how much change there actually is in terms of our day-to-day activity. And hour-to-hour activity. There's a tremendous amount of change. And as a result of that, we can easily get off track. We can easily wind up going in a direction that doesn't really help us at all. So vitality is beautiful. Vitality is good quality energy. Revitalization simply means we can take the activated power and just bring it into a loop. That we perform one action after another, but it's performed without losing any vital energy at all. So we don't waste energy. We don't lose it in something that it should not be lost in. Right? Just like money. We don't want to just throw money away. You wouldn't be taking $100 bill. If you have, lots of cash, you wouldn't put it into the fireplace to use for heat. No, it's foolish. You can use logs of wood, other things like that. But not money you don't put into the fireplace. But that's what we do with our internal power. We're burning it up. We don't realize this. We're throwing it away. We're burning it away. We are causing all kinds of internal imbalance because we are just literally throwing it into useless activity. And this is the point for this week. This is like a summary of all of the last 12 weeks. And I just want to go through it carefully. That please decide. I'm telling myself and also suggesting it to all of you. Make a clear decision not to burn away our internal power. This is our internal wealth, our internal energy, which is the energy in the brain, in the mind, in the body, in the senses, and we're aware of it. We know about it. The breath, the energy, and the mind are on a chain. We talked about that in the retreat that we had a little bit. We didn't go too much into it, but they're on a link. They're on a chain. So the speed of the breath, the slower and the deeper it goes, the better off we're going to be. Not to force it, but slow it down consciously. It's very simple. Don't do any extravagant breathing exercises. Keep it very simple. Don't make it complicated because it's not complicated. do good exercises, keep a nice balanced right amount of food. Food is like a medicine. Let food be thy medicine. Yes, this is what creates revitalization. These are simple ideas that it's a matter of practice. That's what it is. So an hour at a time, decide the actions to be performed. What am I going to do in the next hour? And is it going to be done with balance? Question number one. Is it going to imbalance me, or is it going to take me a bit further towards a balanced state? That's the very first question. So this hour at a time concept is powerful in terms of these steps. Step one, is the next hour going to be balanced? Am I going to be worried? Am I tension? What am I feeling right now? What the heck is going on? And, who knows, right? It could be anything. Sometimes you're going to have a conversation with someone and it's a tough conversation. It can happen also. Anything can happen. So it's a matter of deciding what the actions are going to be. That's the question. Second point is it done with balance? And then if the decision is that I am going to be balanced in the next hour, then stay with that. Be very clear, perform the action, be very steady, enjoy the action. There's always some fluctuation of emotion. Good quality emotion is beautiful, fantastic. And then the third point is there any energy leakage? Energy wastage, energy drainage, energy leakage, energy wastage, energy drainage. That should not happen. If that's happening, recognize it. Recognize it and stop it and bring it inside. By taking steady breaths in, if you want to do a prayer or a mantra, you can do that also. And by doing that, and there's many mantras, many prayers. If you don't know them, you can just take steady breaths. You can even put on some music if you want. Just sit silently. Do it just for 30 seconds. Or take 5 breaths in and out. 7 breaths in and out. It doesn't take that much time. And bring the mind into a state of calmness. To stop energy leakage, energy wastage, energy drainage. And when we do that, we stop wasting time also. Last year, we spent an entire 13-week series on wastage of time. Right? So it's been recorded, it's on YouTube, it's available. So when we stop energy leakage, stopping energy wastage, stopping unnecessary energy drainage, it is going to make our mind healthier, brain healthier, body healthier, our interactions with others verbally, mentally, in every which way is better. And we are then going to move into revitalization. The vitality is our energy. See, understand what the word vitality means. Vitality means energy that is active. That is active and bubbling, and it's good quality energy. Rather than just feeling down and sad and tired and lonely and bored. And that's not vitality. Now, one may need rest. That's fine. That is a restful vitality. It is resting to regain vitality. But there's another kind of rest where one is resting out of tiredness due to the loss of energy that comes from anger, greed, hatred, boredom, tiredness, exhaustion, worry, tension, fear. Then one is just collapsed. One is like, my God, I'm so tired. I just need to take a sleeping pill and go to sleep. Maybe you have to do that. Who knows, right? Check with your doctors and all. But that's a different kind of relaxation. Then the body just gives up. It says, I'm just, I cannot deal with this. How many people are saying that I can't deal with this anymore? So I'm going to take a sleeping pill, or I'm going to take this medicine, or see a doctor, or see a psychiatrist. Too much tension, too much stress. That means we've already drained out so much energy. We don't want that to happen. So how do we prevent that from happening? We prevent that from happening by these 3 points. In the next hour, go 1 hour at a time. Don't try to do it all at one time, like a whole day. Oh my God, I have to do all this now the whole day. How am I going to keep balance? No, forget about that idea. Do it 1 hour at a time. Just keep a vision. I'm not going to waste my energies. I'm not going to leak my energies. I'm not going to drain my energies, and not allow anybody on the outside to gain access to my internal bank account. Don't give that access to anybody. Or if you do give some access, do it very mindfully, carefully. We've talked about this idea also. This is what we do. We just throw it out. We're throwing away our internal wealth. It's like taking, $5 bills and $10 bills and putting them in the fireplace. We don't. Why? It's so ridiculous. Yeah, will it create some heat? It will. But that's not how we should be creating heat, right? They're throwing money away. So similarly, we are throwing away internal energy. And absolutely, there's no need to do that. And there's people on the outside, people, places, situations, environment, circumstances, etc., that are draining and pulling this internal wealth and draining it out and pulling it out, stealing it. Do we want anybody to steal our bank account? Let's say if you have $10,000 in a checking account, how would you feel if there's somebody tapping into that electronically and withdrawing $5 every minute? And you didn't realize it, and then you start seeing that balance go down. Wouldn't you call the helpline, customer service, fraud line right away? Would you say, go ahead, who cares, do it, it's $10,000, what difference does it make? But this is what we do in life, all of us. We still do it, even after realizing all this. We allow situations, people, places, circumstances, environments, externally to drain pieces of our internal wealth. And to not do that is self-respect. To not allow that to happen is it's self-worth, self-respect. It is conservation. It is revitalization. It is revitalizing the power inside. To not do that is not ego. It's people say, well, if I don't, wait a minute, I want to be very humble. You can be humble. Be of service. Be of sensitivity, absolutely. But never give anybody, doesn't matter who they are, access to your internal wealth. It could be the closest person you love. You can share the wealth. Don't give them access to it. If you give anybody access to that, that person will drain it. Person, place, places, even external places. You can, as you get closer, now in intimate relationships, there can be a great closeness and sharing. That's fine. Up to that extent is okay. But then if there isn't absolute pure love and you give 100% access to somebody, then the egos will get inside, problems will get inside, and there will be conflict and trouble and all kinds of intrapsychic entanglement. Again, it's a very big subject. We've talked a bit about it before. We don't want that to happen. That's not love. Real love, there's 100% oneness. That's a whole different matter. But to get to that point, to get to the point of true love without entanglement means we cannot give access to anybody outside. Anybody, any place, any situation, environments from the outside. This is one way energy is leaked out and drained out and burned away. The other way it is burned away, we burn it ourselves. We don't need somebody from outside. We have doctoral degrees, PhD degrees on how to burn our own internal energy. We already know how to do that because this is what most people do. There's nothing new in that. Most human beings know very well how to burn their internal energies throughout. So to recognize that I'm burning my internal power this way, that stops now. Immediately bring it, stop it, sit in a chair, sit on the sofa, go for a little walk, take steady breaths in and out, divert the mind away, the quantity, quality, direction, dimension, depth, and structure, those 6 points. If you haven't written them down, write them down. They're in all the past recordings, and I still have to send out a bunch of PowerPoints and all that really have all the supplementary material. Remember, do not allow the mind to imprison itself. This is actually from one of the great teachings in one of the Upanishad. The Upanishad is a great set of teachings, and it's a beautiful statement that says that the mind is the creator of its own prison, of its own bondage. The mind is the cause of its own liberation. This entire PTP program is just an expounded version of that concept, that we can liberate ourselves from the inside out if we want to. But how can Sachin liberate himself until Sachin recognizes and realizes, what is my bondage? How can I come into a state of liberation until I can see, recognize, and be aware of where is my binding happening? How am I binding myself, allowing others to bind me? I must understand what is binding, the power that is binding me, the way I'm binding myself. If I don't realize that, I cannot be unbound. And if I'm not unbound, I cannot really reach a state of balance and eventually sustained balance and self-mastery. No, that's not going to happen. Well, one will just be revolving in the same cyclical old patterns, as Dr. Chaitanya Kripalu has mentioned so many times. These are energy vampires or thought loops, negative thought loops. Dr. Berman talks about that also in so many different ways, and we've talked about it here also, right? So the concepts is the same. So when a person, meaning all of us, we decide, it's because we have capacity to decide. Our head, there's a brain in here, and it can decide that in the next hour, I am not going to use the I. It's perfectly all right. Use the pronoun I, because that's an affirmation. I'm not going to allow anybody on the outside, anything on the inside, any person on the outside, any situation on the outside, or my memories on the inside, the TEMD on the inside, thought, emotion, memory, desire, to damage, to leak energy, to damage energy, to drain energy, to destroy energy. Under no circumstances is that to happen. None. Because it never serves any good purpose. Not under any situation. Using that energy for getting upset, getting angry, getting distressed, getting unnecessarily worried, getting, all kinds of things happen. We can recognize this is energy drainage, energy leakage, energy damage. No. Pull back. That ability to pull it back is what promotes revitalization. Yes. And it is in the moment. It's to recognize, my mind has gone here. The direction has gone in a place where it is leaking energy. Pull it back. How? Deep breath. Use a mantra. Use an affirmation. Close your eyes. Pull it back and bring your consciousness in the center of your eyebrow. Bring it there. Take steady breath in and out. This is our responsibility to ourselves. We cannot control what happens in the outside world. We cannot control family members. We cannot control anybody outside. There's only one person that we can try to have influence or to have control over, and that is ourselves. And that's it. There's nobody else we need to have control over. We cannot control anybody. We shouldn't even try to control anybody. We can influence, we can try to convince, we have our duties. That's up to that point, fine. People do what they do. That's the way life goes. That's absolutely, so to drop the notion that we can try to control somebody else's behavior. Absolutely not. We can convince them, we can talk to them, we can share our perspectives, and then after all that is done, decide how to proceed practically without damaging internal power. And I keep saying this again and again because we still don't know how to do this. This is the problem. To actually do this is it is so liberating, but it just literally, I would even say half an hour at a time. Literally do a half an hour. In the next half an hour, Sachin is going to decide. My experience is going to be wonderful. I'm going to maintain my balance. I'm going to enjoy the experience. I'm going to do meaningful activity. Even if it's a difficult one, it's all right. It's all right. Sometimes we have to do something we don't like to do. So I don't want to do it now. I don't feel like doing it now. But it's going to be done anyway. Slowly, just move through that feeling. Don't get wrapped up in that. And that will promote a lot of growth from inside out. Yeah, amazing stuff, right? So I'm going to go through a couple of slides here. I think this is loaded finally. I don't know where that thing was. Hold on a second. Give me just a moment. All right, hold on one moment here. A lot of interesting points here, and it's all practical application. And that's why this is being recorded. Listen to these recordings from the beginning. But please remember, it's not just about listening to recordings. It is completely application-based. Every concept, every idea that is being discussed here, presented, and there are hundreds and hundreds of slides, an incredible number of slides are there. There's a lot of information. That's fine. Information is necessary. We need information. But information is not going to help us just by itself. Just making slides is not the goal here. The goal here for me and for all of you is to absolutely recognize that this is application. So let's get into it a bit further. We talked about breath, right? Breath awareness reduces physiological activation of unnecessary energy. Awareness. Conscious breath work restores oxygenation and calm. It's very simple. Conscious breath work is taking the breath slowly. Now you can do alternate nostril breathing. There's a lot of videos. There are more advanced breathing techniques. Don't worry about those. Keep it simple. Keep the palms open. Slowly take the inward breath and then release. Now, if there's blockage in the nose or whatever, do a sinus rinse or make sure that the nose is not blocked, right? So that's another important point to keep in mind. Check with your doctor about that. If you're having sinus issues and all that, check with them so that you can do some good breathing, and that is important. The third point here, yoga integrates both through energetic regulation. All the word yoga means is to connect. So as far as the inward and the outward breath, we connect within ourselves. We can connect with God if you believe in divinity or religious ideas. That's another way, or through the certain prayers and all. You can do it that way, right? That's the third point. Fourth point is somatic intelligence supports real-time energy shifts. See, this is the whole point. Our body is holding a lot of tension. It's holding tension. We don't realize it. Our back is tight sometimes. Our leg muscles are tightened. All that kind of stuff is there. Neck is tightened. We hold a lot of tension in our body. So that gets released. Somatic intelligence is awareness of the way that the body is holding tension. And then we shift energy out of that, bring it back again, breathing again, exercising again, and just getting out of any kind of a tenseness in the body. That shifts energy. Fifth point, embodied presence is the foundation for energetic harmony. Presence, like what's happening right now. Just be aware of it, see it, apply those points discussed so far, that I'm not going to leak energy, I'm not going to drain energy, I'm not going to waste energy, I'm not giving access to anybody on the outside to pull my energies. It can happen, right? We come across somebody and they look at us in a funny way, or they say something and we get disturbed from inside. So that means we've given that person power over us. We don't give anybody on the outside power over you. You have conversations with others. Listen carefully. Even when we're speaking to others, don't get entangled with that person. Listen carefully. Speak limited amount. Let's talk about that a bit, because that's a very practical thing to do. Many people, including me, as you may probably already know, have a tendency to talk a lot, right? I mean, there's a tendency to just keep talking and talking and talking and talking. Pull it back. My mother used to tell me a long time back, you talk way too much. Don't talk so much. And that's a good suggestion. Very important. When it is time to talk, it's okay. Right now I have to talk because of the workshop. But just to keep talking and talking, that's not necessary. Listen more. Talk less. There's so much sometimes with excitement to tell somebody something, this, that. Bring it. I'm telling myself this. I'm telling anybody else. Bring it down a couple of notches. Right? So we talk too fast many times. Too much information is given out. Too much analysis is done. As if the whole world, life and death is going to depend on dumping something on somebody else's head. They may not be ready for that. And there's no point in doing any of that. So to have that discriminative intelligence about how much to speak, when to speak, how much energy to put into that language, how much to listen, how much time to spend listening, and then how much interaction to have with the person. Too much interaction can be a problem. But we don't sometimes, our ego wants to, it has a very funny way of functioning when we interact with other people. It's like we're so eager to convince somebody else, to tell our points of view, to tell everything. We're not so eager to listen carefully. If we listen more, talk less, as a general rule, the communication is better, our energies are more conserved and revitalized, and there is an attitude of respect and humility. The other person then is going to be more apt to listening to the little bit that we may have to say, which may actually be even more beneficial. So I know this, right? Sachin knows this intellectually. I'm also trying to practice this. I'm not saying I'm always successful in that. I need to be even more successful in doing that. Because we come across so many different people, so many diverse mindsets and whatnot. It's not necessary to thrash somebody over the head with the 100 things that are going on in our mind. It happens in family. They don't speak with respect towards each other, taking each other for granted, even though there is a lot of love. Speak less, listen more, do more good quality actions for each other. Actions speak louder than words. So those kinds of things are general guidelines, which we already know all this. Who doesn't know all this thing? Everybody knows this for the most part. Who doesn't know all these things that Sachin is talking about? Who's applying it? I want to know. I have to look at myself, and the only person I can see is me. I don't have the right or the purview, or it's not even my responsibility to try to make other people do this. That's not what Sachin is doing here. That's not what the PTP is about. It is to encourage everyone to try to do this. But the first person that has to do it is me. It's this person, the one who's talking right now. And until and unless I can do this, until and unless there is a genuine desire to do this, awareness in how to apply these ideas, then it's just a lot of words. Right? So application is everything. Application is absolutely everything. And again, there's one other formula I want to share with you, which I may have shared before. This is a formula in many religious scriptures of the world for communication. You don't have to be religious for this, but if you are, that's fine. And that is to speak with 3 criteria simultaneously met. One is that what is spoken is truthful. Of course, you don't want to speak truth that is going to cause harm to others. Okay, so that one has to be careful with that. Truthful, it should be beneficial to yourself and to the other person, and it should also be pleasing. Pleasing meaning it should be done in a way that promotes a good quality communication. Truthful, pleasing, and beneficial. Before speaking to anybody, make sure that our sentences and our feeling and our inner intention has those 3 components. It's truthful, beneficial, and pleasing. Sometimes we speak truth in a very harsh way. It's not pleasing to anybody. So, and it can cause a lot of damage. Sometimes people use a lot of pleasing words, but they're telling lies. They're manipulative. That is not helpful. Sometimes there's a lot of beneficial stuff that is spoken. And usually beneficial stuff, it may be truthful. Maybe it may not be sometimes, but it probably usually is. But it's spoken in a very harsh way. So the formula is truthful language plus beneficial language plus truthful, beneficial plus pleasing equals non-entangled language with love. That's the formula. It's a formula, so truthful, pleasing, and beneficial. Truthful plus pleasing plus beneficial words, actual words, equals non-entanglement with love. Non-entangled love equals non-entangled love. But if we miss one of those 3 components, there's always love. Love may be there, but then it is a contaminated. Now you cannot call it even love at that point. There's something else present there. Some distortion is there. Love is always there, but it's gotten distorted. We don't want that to happen. Right? So it's a tremendous application. It's a fantastic way of keeping energies revitalized because we speak. Language has a lot of power. Language has tremendous amount of power. How much to speak, when to speak, and to have that intelligence active. That intelligence has a lot of energy. So again, the same principle applies. Energy leakage, energy drainage, energy wastage through language. Now this is verbal language, right? But there's another kind of language also. That is mental language. The mental language is the internal, a constant activity going on about so much. We are talking inside. It's called the internal self-chatter, inner chatter, or the inner soliloquy, sometimes it is called, interestingly, right? Soliloquy is like when you have one person doing a whole drama. It's something like that. That's a soliloquy, or one person just talking. We have that going on within us all the time. It's called the internal self-chatter, and it's the soliloquy. To be aware of that Is it draining energy, wasting energy, damaging energy? Is it pulling our mental power in God knows what direction? Why do that? Again, this is where the quality, quantity, direction, dimension, depth, and structure come into the picture again. And we're going to talk about that in a lot of detail later on. But just for our purposes here, just recognize how much of this is going on inside. What the heck am I doing? See, it happens, right? You could be watching a TV show by yourself or whatever, and then you start dreaming off about something that happened years back, or something that just goes on, and it just goes on, and it spends half an hour, 15 minutes, and then we find ourselves just caught up in that. So there's a difference between getting caught up in the internal self-chatter versus being in a state where we can deliberately think about something that we want to and leave it at that. We don't need to be in that inner chatter all the time. If we need to think about, because we're always going to be thinking somewhere or another, but to not overthink, to utilize cognitive energy in the right amount is very important, because that is going to bring about a very good quality experience. Where is my cognitive energy being used? How much is it being used? Sometimes people have it on, they burn it out, overutilization. That's not necessary. I have to be aware of that too. Some of the research stuff that I do and all that, I love doing it, but if I'm spending too much time behind that, then I'm going to burn out my cognitive, I just drain it out. I don't want to drain my cognitive energy. I want to use the right amount of it in the right place, in the right time, and then retract back into a more relaxed activity. Just because an engine can stay on, like in a car, doesn't mean it has to stay on. Isn't that so? Like if we have all cars, we all have a car probably, I'm pretty sure we do. Let's say the car is filled with fuel and you're going to be at home. Is it possible for the engine to stay on the whole night? Yes. Does that mean it should stay on the whole night? No. Similarly, the cognition, the mental capacity with the emotional experience and with the memory structure, the thoughts, emotions, memories, and the desires inside, it's a machine. It's a mechanism. In the Vedanta language, it is called antakarana, inner instrument. We're going to talk about that in a subsequent retreat. We just touched on some of the consciousness stuff, but we're going to talk about an angel wing also in some other way. But my point is that just because our mind can remain on doesn't mean it has to remain on. Because you have a full tank of gas, you'll have a half tank of gas about 10 hours later, or who knows, or whatever it is. Is that necessary? It's waste. It's meaningless. Similarly, just because our mind can remain on doesn't mean it has to remain on. The capacity to turn it on for a purpose, turn on the engine and then drive the car and then turn the car off when you reach the destination, is a good purpose. Just like that. I can turn on my thinking when it is necessary. I can retract from it and bring the level down. You cannot turn off completely, but bring it down and be at ease. But when it is necessary to turn it high gear, then you have to do that. But then bring it back down again. Most of the time, the thinking should be at ease, done in a very nice way, softly, not with strain. So this is the internal way to keep our balanced condition intact. I mean, it's necessary to recognize what is my balance. See, in year number 2, and we're going to talk about this now subsequently until the end of next year, until the end of this year also, is to recognize the balance point. Where is my balance point in the TEMDE? Thought, emotion, memory, desire, energy. All 5 are flowing, and each of those has the 6 points. Remember, quality, quantity, direction, dimension, depth, structure. You've written that down previously. Some new people may not have. I'm going to send out some information later this week on that. Some diagrams and all that to make sure it's very clear, and some supplementary material. But the point is very simple. The point is that I have to discover, Sachin here has to discover that balanced realm. Or you can call it a balanced point. I mean, maybe a better language is to say the realm of balance. That's probably a little bit better language. The realm of my inner balance. Can I discover that? Yes. I have to discover it by experimenting, by seeing how to balance my bodily activity, my diet, my mental activity, my emotional flow, my intellectual flow, all of those things. They need to come into a synchronous state. And that's how an hour at a time, by applying the principles we just mentioned, I'm not going to repeat that again. You can listen to it later if you want to. And that is, by applying the principles, the hypothesis is, Sachin's hypothesis, and I would contend that it is correct, that we will then discover that balanced realm, the realm of balance, the realm of personal balance. It will be discovered. And you say, this is my realm of personal balance. There's steadiness, there's good energy quality, there's good experience, there's no overeating in the stomach, there isn't, I've taken the right medications, everything is where it needs. This is what doctors want. When we go to see our PCP or a specialist or whatever, what is it that they're trying to achieve? This. And this is what we call homeostasis, but this is our point here, that it's a matter of discovery. And it's going to take some time. But I'm not going to be able to discover that until I try to discover that. That's the way I have to dive within myself and keep retuning all of my mechanisms until I can discover that balance point. All of the ideas discussed since the beginning of January last year until right now are all about retuning ourselves to discover that balanced space. Absolutely, that is what it is about. It is a matter of discovery. And now, once that balanced space opens up, that balanced realm opens up, then all that is needed at that point is a decision through awareness that says, let's stay here. Let's not move out of that. Then activity is performed across all the 12 dimensions of one's life. Activity is performed without creating imbalance. And this is what is known as sustained balance. Now, does that mean that you're going to have just no emotions or anything like that? No. The range of emotions, but no imbalance because of it. Even if some strong emotion shows up, you bring it back again into a range. Regulate it again. Don't allow it to take off and just cause a massive disturbance. There are going to be ecstatic experiences. There are devotional experiences, or there are a lot of pleasurable experiences, things like that. Yeah, that's okay. That's that. And sometimes there can be some sad experiences too. But don't stay in that too long. Recognize. Remember 3 things. You have to recognize it yourself. Sachin has to recognize it himself. I cannot recognize it for you. This is your responsibility, and I have my responsibility to recognize energy drainage, energy leakage, energy wastage, energy damage, energy being stolen, energy being burned up from the inside, energy being burned up by somebody or something from the outside. I have to see all of that, and none of that should happen. Do not allow that to happen at all, because nothing, under any circumstances, is ever going to come out of it. Nothing will ever come out of it. The only thing that will happen is we will get more lost inside the chaos that is created. It is like a jungle that a person goes into. It is like a jungle that a person goes into, and a person gets lost inside that jungle. And when a person gets lost inside the jungle, then they go deeper and deeper into the jungle. And then it's nighttime. Now they're even more lost. You see, so we don't want that to happen. The mind is not to become a jungle. Mind is not to become a jungle where our consciousness is lost in that jungle. We don't want to be in that jungle. We want our mind to be absolutely so clear and so wonderful. And so we're not lost inside. See this point carefully. How many people are lost inside? Large numbers. They're just trapped inside. They cannot get out of the jungle created inside. First of all, don't create the jungle. And then if it's created, do not get stuck in there, right? So all of these principles will take us out of that jungle. Okay, now we're already 8:49, so I do want to go into the quantum quality. So give me just a moment, and then we will stop. So we'll do the closing song. Give me just a second here. Where are we here? Let's take a look at this. All right, so these are a lot of slides. Here's a lot of material, but that's all right as usual. Hold on one moment. Let's go back down here to, where was this? Okay, these are all. So our quantum principle is principle number 26 because we're on week number 26. Awareness of pleasure and pain movements. This is again, it's a quantum principle. Pleasure and pain are part of life. The movement of pleasure, the movement of pain. Oh, be aware of it. What does that mean? It's pretty straightforward that mood changes, our emotions change. Just to recognize that it's changing and then to recognize that keep it within a certain range. That's all this concept is. It's a quantum principle because it will cause a lot of balance naturally. We can understand emotional peaks, we understand them, we can understand a lot of ideas, but the point is to recognize the emotional valleys, what the causes are, and then to stay away from that and to come out of that. Movement between states, capture the transition dynamics between peaks and valleys. So everything we just talked about will allow for this to happen. So that awareness of the peaks and valleys, awareness of pleasure and pain is possible. But everything I just mentioned, I won't repeat it obviously, it will allow for all of this for this particular quantum principle to really take hold. Right? So there's a lot of slides here. You can look at that later on if you want. There's triggers and there's personal history and there's cyclical patterns, fluctuations, seasonal affective patterns. There's tons of stuff that is related to all of this. That information is available, and we'll do some special workshops on this in the future. Right? So journaling can be there, cognitive restructuring, acceptance is an important part, managing ups and downs, coping strategies, support systems, developing resiliency, the awareness of growth, recognizing how the internal growth can happen. Right? So beautiful points are there. So with that, let's and then just one more final point. Use money as a vitamin. We've talked about it many times before. There's a book published on that. We're going to do a whole series on that next year sometime. All right. So with that, standing homework exercise, simple one. Where's my energy going? How am I using it? Just do it hour at a time. That's the only real homework exercise, to review these points, do that, and apply it. It's all application now. That's all. 100% application. Right. So with that, we will do our closing song, and then we'll open it up for Q&A.